While headlines often highlight the US's loud tariffs and blunt warnings, Beijing has been crafting an even more potent response, one that has begun quietly, but could significantly freeze key sectors of Western industry. Recent developments revolve around advanced lithium processing technology, an integral component in electric vehicle battery production. China commands a crucial position in this supply chain. It is the world's largest producer of the essential sorbent used to extract lithium from brine. But as of February 1st, one leading Chinese company, Jiangsu Juju High-Tech, halted exports of sorbent technology, citing newly proposed export controls from Beijing. The move signals a powerful shift. Chinese authorities have publicly floated tighter licensing for battery and lithium technology exports, and industry insiders say that the mere prospect of these rules is already chilling global trade. Companies from the US and EU, especially those investing heavily in next-generation electric vehicles, could soon find themselves scrambling for supply alternatives. In contrast to headline-making tariff announcements, Beijing's strategy appears far more subdued, yet potentially more devastating to Western interests. Through selective visits and quiet warnings, Chinese Ministry of Commerce officials have urged domestic firms to reconsider major export deals involving cutting-edge lithium or battery technology. Some major contracts, worth up to $1 billion, are now in limbo, as banks require additional layers of approval before greenlighting export-related financing. These silent maneuvers align with earlier examples of Beijing's economic leverage, most notably the antimony export ban last December, which rocked Western automakers reliant on that crucial metal. Now, with lithium technology under a similar microscope, the impact could be even broader. Industry lawyers in China report that clients have grown extremely cautious about shipping sensitive equipment abroad, particularly to destinations seen as unfriendly to Beijing's interests. For US-based oil giants and automakers, these controls threaten to derail attempts to develop alternative lithium supply chains. Some firms, such as ExxonMobil, have explored using Chinese filtration technology in new domestic extraction projects. Others, like Koch Industries, had planned to deploy sorbents from Chinese providers. But with Beijing turning off the tap, these ambitions face a sudden and significant roadblock. Western alternatives do exist, but they are still emerging. Companies like Vulcan Energy Resources in Germany and TechMet-backed ventures worldwide are racing to ramp up sorbent production, yet these solutions remain largely untested at commercial scale, and it could take years for them to match China's refined manufacturing expertise. As Francis Weddin, chairman of Vulcan Energy, puts it, "We have to completely change the technologies and innovate without being beholden to China." The trade relationship between the United States and China is a cornerstone of the global economy, with significant volumes of goods and services exchanged annually. In 2024, the total value of US trade in goods with China reached approximately $583 billion, comprising $43,055 billion in exports to China. However, escalating trade tensions have introduced volatility into this relationship. In December 2024, the US goods and services deficit increased by $18.9 billion to $123 billion, reflecting a significant rise in the goods deficit. This widening trade deficit has been influenced by various factors, including tariffs and export controls. Or disruptions in US-China trade have far-reaching implications for both economies and the global market. For the United States, increased tariffs on Chinese goods have led to higher production costs for manufacturers and elevated prices for consumers. The Federal Reserve estimated that the trade war reduced US GDP by 0.3%, equivalent to approximately $62 billion. China, on the other hand, has experienced a widening trade surplus, recording a surplus of $14.84 billion in December 2024. While this indicates robust export performance, Chinese exporters are facing intensified competition in alternative markets due to reduced access to the US market. Companies have been diversifying their export destinations to regions such as Asia, Africa, and Latin America, leading to increased competition and reduced profit margins. The global ramifications of US-China trade disruptions are profound. The imposition of tariffs on approximately $450 billion in bilateral trade has not only strained relations between the two nations, have also altered global trade dynamics. Supply chains have been restructured, with companies relocating production to bypass tariffs, affecting investment flows and economic growth worldwide. Additionally, bystander countries have experienced shifts in trade patterns, with some benefiting from increased export opportunities as firms seek alternative suppliers. In early February 2025, the Trump administration escalated trade tensions by imposing a 10% tariff on all Chinese imports, aiming to address issues such as the trade imbalance and China's alleged role in the US fentanyl crisis. This action was part of a broader strategy that also included a 25% tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico, with Canadian energy resources facing a reduced 10% tariff. China responded by implementing retaliatory tariffs ranging from 10% to 15% on US goods, including coal, liquefied natural gas, crude oil, agricultural machinery, and vehicles. Additionally, China initiated an antitrust investigation into Google and imposed export controls on critical minerals like tungsten, thorium, and molybdenum, which are essential for technologies such as semiconductors and military equipment. While public attention initially centered on tariff percentages, Beijing has since pursued a more subtle yet potentially more disruptive strategy. Recent reports indicate that China has moved to restrict exports of critical minerals and key technological inputs without making loud announcements. These measures go beyond raw materials, as China has also halted the export of technology and components related to electric vehicles and rechargeable battery systems. As the global leader in EV and battery manufacturing technology, China's decision to restrict these exports is particularly potent. Western automakers and battery manufacturers depend heavily on Chinese-developed hardware and software to power next-generation EVs and to ensure the performance and safety of lithium-ion batteries. This covert measure could undermine production progress in factories that assemble these critical technologies outside China, potentially slowing the transition to sustainable energy solutions and impacting related industries such as oil and gas. In December 2024, China escalated trade tensions with the United States by imposing a ban on the export of critical minerals such as gallium, germanium, and antimony. These minerals are indispensable for a wide range of industries, including semiconductor manufacturing, military applications, and high-tech production. The move was officially justified by China's Ministry of Commerce as a national security measure, but it came on the heels of Washington's decision to expand export controls on advanced semiconductor technology to China. This ban represents a direct challenge to Western nations, particularly the United States, which relies heavily on China for these scarce resources. China has long been the dominant player in the global supply of these strategic minerals. It produces nearly 98% of the world's gallium, around 60% of the global supply of germanium, and about 50% of the total production of antimony. This near monopoly allows China to exert substantial influence over industries that depend on these materials. The sudden restriction of exports is already disrupting supply chains, raising concerns about the availability of these critical inputs for Western manufacturers. One of the most severely impacted industries is semiconductor manufacturing. Gallium and germanium are essential components in the production of high-performance semiconductors, which are used in telecommunications, medical imaging, and aerospace applications. The United States currently sources approximately half of its gallium and germanium supply from China, making this ban a significant threat to its technological and industrial sectors. The defense industry is also at risk, as antimony plays a key role in the manufacturing of flame-retardant military-grade equipment and batteries. The United States relies on China for roughly 63% of its antimony imports, and with no domestic production, finding alternative sources will be a major challenge. The impact of China's decision is already being felt in global markets. Following the announcement, the price of antimony surged dramatically, trading between $3,900 and $40,000 per metric ton by the end of December 2024, marking a staggering 250% increase over the year. This price volatility has placed additional pressure on Western manufacturers, who now face rising costs and supply shortages that could disrupt production and delay technological advancements. Strategically, this move by China is widely seen as a retaliatory measure against the United States' efforts to curb its technological development. The US has been tightening restrictions on China's access to advanced semiconductor chips and manufacturing equipment, aiming to limit Beijing's progress in AI and other critical fields. By banning exports of these essential minerals, China is sending a clear message that it holds significant leverage in global supply chains and is willing to use it as a countermeasure in the ongoing trade dispute. China has emerged as the world's leading powerhouse in lithium-ion battery technology, holding approximately 73% of global manufacturing capacity. This dominance extends beyond production and into the entire supply chain, encompassing raw material mining, refining, processing, and the development of advanced battery chemistries. Key Chinese players such as contemporary Amperex Technology, Co., Limited, CATL, and BYD have positioned themselves as indispensable suppliers for major electric vehicle manufacturers, including Tesla, Volkswagen, Ford, and BMW. Their technological innovations in high-energy density battery cells, ultra-fast charging technologies, and cost-efficient production methods have set industry benchmarks, making China a critical enabler of the global transition to electrification and renewable energy storage. Additionally, China controls over 60% of the world's lithium refining capacity and 80% of global production for battery-grade materials, such as cathodes and anodes. The country has also secured long-term contracts for lithium, nickel, and cobalt mining in regions like Africa, South America, and Indonesia, ensuring a steady supply of these critical minerals. Amid rising geopolitical tensions and increasing efforts by the United States and the European Union to diversify supply chains, China has introduced stringent export restrictions on critical battery technologies. These proposed restrictions specifically target battery-grade lithium processing methods, which are essential for refining raw lithium into high-purity lithium carbonate and lithium hydroxide, used in long-range EV batteries. Additionally, China is limiting the export of advanced cathode and anode materials, which play a crucial role in high-performance lithium, iron phosphate, and nickel-manganese cobalt battery chemistries. Beyond traditional lithium-ion technology, China is also imposing restrictions on solid-state battery innovations that promise higher energy densities and improved safety. Given that China refines over 90% of the world's battery-grade graphite, its new controls on graphite processing technologies further complicate Western efforts to establish independent supply chains. These measures are part of a broader strategy to maintain China's technological superiority and slow down Western nations' ability to develop competitive domestic battery manufacturing capabilities. If China moves forward with curtailing or halting exports of these advanced technologies, the consequences for Western economies could be significant. The first major impact would be supply chain disruptions and rising costs. Western automakers and battery manufacturers may face production delays due to restricted access to essential battery materials, leading to increased costs in sourcing alternative suppliers or investing in domestic refining and production facilities. Such shortages could drive up electric vehicle prices, slowing down global EV adoption. Beyond the automotive sector, China's export restrictions could also delay the transition to green energy. Renewable energy storage projects, particularly large-scale grid batteries designed to store solar and wind energy, rely heavily on Chinese battery technology. If access to critical battery materials is limited, Western nations may struggle to meet their carbon neutrality and net zero emissions targets. Additionally, the increasing dependence on China for key battery technologies poses a strategic vulnerability for Western nations. If China fully restricts lithium-ion battery technology exports, Western firms may struggle to develop high-efficiency batteries, hampering advancements not only in electric mobility, but also in consumer electronics, aerospace, and defense applications. Such a scenario would give China even greater leverage in global trade, making Western economies more vulnerable.